What's up, everybody? I am excited to announce that I have just started a new series simply called How to Rap a Verse. My next video was going to be just simply how to rap a verse, but I've quickly realized that it was going to be a very long video. So what I'm going to do is break them up into sections, easy to follow, easy to jump around, exactly to what you want to watch. And this is going to be the first video of that series on establishing rhythm. In the coming weeks, we're going to talk about creating cadences. We're going to talk about translating cadences into lyrics. We're even going to get into delivery and even actually recording your vocals. So we're going to go from everything from start to finish. So stay tuned. We're going to learn a lot together and we're going to have a lot of fun. Now, staying on beat is probably the most common obstacle I see most people facing who are learning how to rap. And there's several reasons for it. It's most likely not due to you not having rhythm or being tone deaf, as many people say. It's probably because you've never been taught how to do it in an easy to understand way that's practical to implement. In this video, I'm going to go deeper into the topic of rhythm and staying on beat than I ever have before. And if you apply these techniques, they will prevent you from making the same common mistakes that many do. So if you're ready to learn how to lock onto the beat tighter than spandex at a Weight Watchers convention, then let's get it! What's up, everybody? This is Mize with ColeMizeStudios.com, bringing you another segment of Be a Better Rapper Now. Now, the foundation that everything in rapping is built upon is rhythm. In fact, a popular acronym that's been given for rap, R-A-P, is rhythm and poetry. Your rhythm is your ability to synchronize with the pulse of the music. Some call this being in the pocket, being on beat, riding the beat, being in time, etc. If you've never learned how to establish your rhythm before, here's an in-depth, practical tutorial on how to do so. Now, if you don't know what a bar is, which is also a measure, it's a way that we measure musical time. When you hear someone say, they got bars, this is what they're referring to. A bar is divided into 4 smaller sections called beats. So there are 4 beats per bar. When you hear someone say that you're off beat, they simply mean that your syllables aren't lining directly on top of the beats in each bar. These beats can also be known as quarter notes or the 4 count. Typically, the kick drum takes up the first and the third beat of each bar, and the snare drum takes up the second and fourth beat of each bar. For a more in-depth look at bars and musical time, make sure you check out my previous video I did entitled Music Notes Explained, and I'll make sure I also drop a link to that in the video's description below. Now, the easiest way to begin establishing your rhythm is to identify the 2 snare drums. The reason being is because snare drums are higher in frequency than kick drums, so their apparent volume is perceived to be louder by our ears. Kick drums are usually much lower in frequency since most of their sound is bass, so their apparent volume is perceived to be lower by our ears, which can make them harder to hear on devices such as laptops and mobile devices that use smaller speakers that don't translate lower frequencies very well. Now, unless you have some type of musical background, it's highly possible that you may not even know what snares are in the first place, and that's okay. Most people just hear music as one complete sound. But what we're going to do is some ear training to focus specifically on the snare. Now, have you ever noticed that a picture that is focused on a specific object causes all the objects around it to become blurred? This is exactly what our eyes do when we focus on something close up. And a similar phenomena occurs when we start focusing on specific sounds in music, such as a snare. You'll likely notice that once we start focusing on the snare drums, then all the other music around it will start to become somewhat blurred and out of focus, and the snare drums will be a lot more easy to distinguish, and they'll kind of pop out more to us in our minds. Now, many people get snare drums confused with hi-hats, which hi-hats have more of a high-frequency, metal, sparkly type of sound. A snare is a type of drum that has a really short and sharp smack and slap type of characteristic to it, like pow. This is the drum that you see in movies like Drumline, played by Nick Cannon, or the classic Christmas story, The Little Drummer Boy. You'll also see snare drums used in old war movies as a tool to rally the troops and communicate Morse code-like messages by playing specific cadences that carry different meanings. It's also important to know that in rap music, sometimes the snare is blended or substituted with a clap or a snap type of sound. But regardless, most of the time they're still going to be placed in the same exact spot as the snare is traditionally placed in, which is the second and fourth beat of each bar. Now let's jump into FL Studio and find the elusive snares. All right, I'm just going to play the beat and let's see if we can't find these suckers, all right? Okay, listen, I'm just looping one bar right now so we can really focus in on these snares. So listen. Hear that? Pow, pow. Listen. Hear that? Pow, pow. If you're still having trouble hearing it, let's just solo the snare so you can hear it. This is a snare. Hear that? Now with the music. Okay, that's a snare. Now what people typically get this confused with is the hi-hat. Now this is what a hi-hat sounds like. These are typically done in like 8 counts. So this is an 8 count right here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's what a hi-hat is. Now let's listen to the beat again. Tell me if you can hear these snares. Now, once we've located the snares, let's start bobbing our head back and forth at an even speed so that the end of the forward position is landing directly on top of the snares. And while we're doing this, we're also going to say 2 on the first snare that we hear, and we're going to say 4 on the second snare that we hear. Now, bobbing your head is just one of the methods of doing this. So if it's more comfortable to you to tap your foot or maybe slap your chest, feel free to do whatever is comfortable for you. Okay, so here we go. I'll take it just a second, listen to the snares. And now start trying to catch them with your head movement, okay? 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. Now right now we're only saying 2 and 4 at the end of the forward position of our head. Now we're going to start saying 1 and 3 at the end of the backwards position of our head. So while you're still bobbing your head, after you say 4 on the second snare, now start saying 1 once your head reaches the end of the backwards position. And after you say 2 on the first snare, now say 3 at the end of the backwards position of your head. Now if you're doing this 4 count properly, you'll be landing directly on top of the kicks and the snares. Okay, let's give it a shot. 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. Now let's put the 1s and the 3s in there. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now one way to easily tell if you're landing directly on top of the kicks and snares is something that I refer to as the blanket theory. The theory is simple. If you're landing directly on top of the kicks and snares, then you should start to notice that the volume of the kicks and the snares start to decrease apparently in volume because now you're covering them up because you're speaking directly on top of them. If you notice that the kicks and the snares don't seem to go down in volume, then this is a good indication that you may not be landing directly on top of them yet, and you may just need to continue practicing a little bit more. Now, once you feel like you got the hang of the 4 count, double the speed of your head movement so now that the forward position is now landing directly on top of the kicks and the snares, so directly on top of the 1, 2, and 3, and 4. This is the speed that I found to be the most comfortable for me, regardless if I'm doing head movements or if I'm tapping my foot or whatever. As we move on to faster counts, I still prefer to keep my body movement at this speed because it's not too fast and it doesn't wear you out. So let's give it a shot. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you prefer to use foot movements, raise the front of the foot off the ground while leaving the heel of the foot planted on the ground. This position is substituting the backwards position of the head movement and should be in between the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 once you have doubled the speed of your body movement from the previous step. Once you bring the front of the foot back down to the ground, it should be landing on top of the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this is taking the place of the forward position of the head movement. If you prefer to use an arm movement, try slapping your chest or moving your forearm back and forward in an axe-like movement. When slapping your chest, you should be hitting your chest on top of the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and your hand should be removed from your chest in between the numbers. When using the axe hand movement, the backwards position will be when your forearm is extended straight up, which will create an L-like shape with your forearm and bicep. This is the position you should be in between the 4 count. The forward position will be when you extend your forearm about 1/3 of the way forward, and of course, the end of this position should be landed directly on top of the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Don't overthink the length of your forearm extension, just do whatever is most comfortable to you. Now that we double the speed of our head movement to where the forward position is landing on top of all the numbers, aka all the beats in the measure, we're simply just going to add the word "and" in between each one of those numbers and at the end of 4. So now we'll be saying "and" each time your head reaches the end of the backwards position. For example, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This is the 8 count. Let's do it to the music real quick. I'm going to start off with the 4 count and build into the 8 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now the 16 count is really where it comes together. We're just basically doubling the 8 count into a 16 count. This is the speed that most rappers flow in. It's not too fast or too slow, and it's just overall a pretty comfortable speed to rap in. For the 16 count, we're going to keep the same double speed of our body movement as the previous step, so that the end of the forward position of our heads are landing directly on top of all the beats, aka all the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Since we're going to be speaking much faster now, we're going to change up what we're actually saying so we don't overwork our mouths. For the first example, let's try the butter method. The way that it works is buh is using your lips and duh is using your tongue and the roof of your mouth, so that not one part of your mouth is being overworked. We're going to say butter butter 4 times, which is going to give us 16 syllables, which is going to be the 16 count. For example, butter, 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 butter. Now the buzz should be landing at the end of the forward position and at the end of the backwards position. And the does should always be landing in between those 2 head movements. Now, if you're having trouble building up to saying butter, 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 then take out the does and just say buzz. Okay, now this is going to actually be the 8 count now. Okay, so if you were to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, that's the 8 count. So just replace that with buzz. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and buh 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 buh. Let's do that with the head movement. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and buh 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 buh. And now what we're going to do is just add the does in between those. Each buh is going to be, we're going to put a duh in between it. Duh. So let's give it a try. Let's start off with the 8 count first. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and buh 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 butter 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 butter. Now let's do it to the music. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and buh 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 butter 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 butter. Now let's bring this full circle to rapping and actually translate all these butter butters into actual meaningful lyrics. Since we're doing the 16 count, then we know that we're using 16 syllables to fill up the bar using all the 16th notes. So all that we need to do is come up with a combination of words that make up 16 syllables that are easy to say fairly quickly. Let's use this line. I'm about to go, and if you got a problem, tell me so in. Now remember, the 4 count is the foundation that we've built everything upon. The kick is falling on the 1st and 3rd beat, and the snare is falling on the 2nd and 4th beat. Even though we're using 16 syllables, we need to make sure that we're landing directly on top of those 4 beats, aka the 4 count. So in this example, just some simple math will show us that 16 syllables divided by 4 beats equals 4 syllables per beat. So there should be 4 syllables in between the 1st and 2nd beat, 4 syllables in between the 2nd and 3rd beat, 4 syllables in between the 3rd and 4th beat, and also 4 syllables between the 4th beat and the 1st beat of the next bar. So the syllable after every 4 syllables should be landing directly on the beat. Since I'm is the 1st syllable, it should be landing directly on top of the 1st beat. Go is the 5th syllable, so it should be landing directly on top of the 2nd beat. Got is the 9th syllable, so it should be landing directly on top of the 3rd beat. And tell is the 13th syllable, so it should be landing directly on top of the 4th beat. So what I'm going to do now is just demonstrate everything that I've taught you. So I'm going to point out only the snares with the end of my forward position landing directly on top of the snares. And then I'm going to double that head movement and begin saying 1, 2, 3, and 4 on top of the kicks and snares. And then I'm going to keep that head movement, and then I'm going to now do the 8 count. And then once I start doing the 8 count, I'm going to translate that into buzz, which is still doing the 8 count. And then I'm going to throw does in between those, which is going to give me the 16 count. And then I'm going to translate all that butter gibberish into actual lyrics and demonstrate how the lyrics fit in perfectly and how they're landing directly on beat, as I just demonstrated to you by doing just some simple math. Let's get it. All right. 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Double head movement. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ba 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 butter 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 butter. I'm about to go, and if you got a problem, tell me so. When I'm about to go, and if you got a problem, tell me so. And now remember, this is simply an exercise that you can use to establish your rhythm while you're also building momentum and speed with the track while staying on beat. Now, you're most likely not going to want to use one of these counts as your actual cadence, aka flow, unless you're trying to sound like a nursery rhyme, like twinkle, twinkle, little star, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Or you want to sound like a robot, I'm about to go, and if you got a problem, tell me so. And which could be cool for some applications. So in the next video, we're going to start digging in deeper and start creating really cool sounding cadences while also applying the techniques that you've learned in this video to ensure that we are staying on beat. And remember, this is the first part to my new series, How to Rap Reverse. So make sure that you stay tuned, because there's going to be a lot of really good videos coming your way, a lot of good information being shared, and we're going to have a lot of fun. If this is your first time being here, do not be shy and go ahead and get you a free copy of my ebook, The #1 Fundamental to Rapping, where I'm sharing with you tips and techniques that I've gathered over the 17 years that I've been rapping. You can soak it up all in one day. It's also going to sign you up to my newsletter, which is where I stay connected with all of you guys. You can ask me questions one-on-one and I will get back to you promptly. How awesome is that? There's a subscribe button, and down there is a video playlist with all the videos that I have made in chronological order for your viewing pleasure. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it, share with a friend. If you have a question, drop your 2 cents in the comment section below. This is Mize with ColdMizeStudios.com, bringing you another segment of Be a Better Rapper Now. And remember, in rap, there's no rules, there's only techniques. Peace.